I'm Chris Miller, the television voice of your Washington Wizards, and joining us today at the table is Wizards General Manager Will Dawkins and the man of the hour, Brian Keefe. So without any further ado, the floor is yours.
Oh, appreciate you. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and those who are watching as well. Excited to formally announce Brian and welcome him to the organization as our next head coach. I also want to make sure I welcome his wife, Cindy, and their two daughters. Many of you guys know Brian and are familiar with Brian from his year here with us this season. When I think of Brian, at his core, he's someone who connects with people. He's someone who is a teacher. He's someone who is a developer. And he's someone who is proven in motivating people. And those are things that he's always been about. Those are things he did when he was our interim coach, and those are things that he's going to continue to do when he's pushing us forward. So we're excited. We're happy. Going through this process with Mike and all of our staff, we wanted to make sure that we got to know everybody, but really get to know everything we could about Brian. And my first time that I met him in 2008, what really I remember is how much time he took to get to know me as a person. And I think if you look around this room and you see the players and the staff that are here to support, I think he got to know a lot of people because he's genuine. He invests in people. He puts himself last. He puts the players and the team first. And we're really, really excited about that. We're happy for the person, but also happy for the coach that we're getting. He's someone who has a diverse skill set, has a growth mindset. He's always looking for ways to get better. I'm excited to see what he can come up with a full summer and training camp and everything to get ready to go on. But 19 years now in the NBA? 19. Almost 20. Almost. Close. In that 19 years, he's had a array of opportunities at different organizations at different timelines, some through the rebuild, some through competitive play. He's touched a lot of different players, some top-end talent, and had them at different parts of their career, from rookies raising them up to all-stars to Hall of Fame guys. And when he was involved with them, he poured into them. They learned, they grew no matter where they were. And I think even in the phase he was here as an assistant, but also as the lead man last year, he definitely poured into the guys, and they felt that. So we're excited for that. The 30 games that we saw as interim coach, we've talked about this, is just the beginning. It's the foundational building blocks that he put together that is going to help us continue to have this sustained success that we're looking for. He understands that and is ready for the challenge. Will be a great partner with everybody in the building. So with that, I just want to officially welcome you to the Washington Wizards.
First of all, I want to thank Ted, Michael, and Will for your belief in me to help lead this organization. I'm truly grateful and humbled by this. This is a great responsibility, and the one thing I think about is how excited I am about it, because I get to partner with Will, with Michael, to build something, and someone who I share the same core values with. The thing that's really exciting about this is that this is a very rare opportunity in sports when you get to work with people who are aligned from ownership down to front office to coaching, that we're invested in finding the right way to do things, to look at every corner, to look at the best practice, so we can streamline our process to be the best versions of ourselves. And I think that's a rarity in today's sport, and to get the opportunity to do this with this group, specifically with Michael and Will, who I've known for a long time, and I care tremendously about them as people first, but also the way they can do their job. It's a huge honor. I also realize that when you get to this position, you don't do this stuff alone. Yeah. There's a lot of people who have integral part of my life to help me get to where I am today. I'm not going to say a lot of those people's by names because there's too many people to mention, but the coaches I had when I played for growing up, the teammates I had, the coaches I got to work with and learn from. There's a long list of people that I owe a lot of gratitude to. And then finally to the players, and great that a lot of our players are here today, that you guys let me in your lives. And a lot of, I've coached for a long time, almost 25 years now, that you got to be part of their journey and help them realize their dreams. That's all I've ever asked in life, and I'm thrilled to continue to do that here with the Wizards. And lastly, and most importantly to me, my family. For the guidance, support, and the values they instilled in me. And this I will be specific about. My uncles, Will and George, who instilled the love of the game in me. My grandparents, Ruth and William O'Brien. My sister, Stephanie, who's always been an inspiration to me for how she lives her life and how she cares about people and her generosity and her spirit. My mom and dad, their unwavering support, their belief in me and belief in the dreams that I pursued, and the example they set for living a life of purpose, about care and taking care of people and helping people. My two daughters over here, Brooke and Noelle, their unconditional love and support, and watching them as they're going to attack their dreams, and that inspires me daily. And lastly, to my wife, Cindy, the best partner that anybody could ever have in their life. Your support, your unconditional love, and the way you lift everybody with your brightness and your spirit, I'm eternally grateful to be married for you. So today is a celebration for my family, and we're just thrilled to be part of the Wizards family.
One big family.
Yeah.
And congratulations to Brian Keefe. You know, they handed me to give these to you, but I almost used them when you started talking about your wife. Will, I want to ask you a question about how the organization kind of landed on the process of retaining Brian as head coach.
Yeah, very fair. I think there's a lot of people that were involved. I won't dive a little too deep into the process just out of respect for everyone involved, but I will say that we were really intentional. We were deliberate and thorough in kind of going through the process. We wanted to make sure that we found the right person for the job moving forward. So we went into it open-minded, knowing that our organization is a place where we're trying to be inquisitive and trying to make the best decision for everybody. And at the end of the day, we feel very comfortable that that was Brian. And just a note on Brian, through those 19 years he's been in the league, his hard work, I'd put it up there with anybody. And not just that, but the diligence that he goes about it with, the care, the sweat equity that he's put in with all the players on the floor. You can see it, you can feel it. But he's also a student of the game, and he spent a lot of time behind the monitors figuring it out. He talked about the coaches that he was with, some really bright basketball minds that he's in coaches meetings with. And at the very beginning, whether you should have or should not, you were always speaking up and trying to contribute, and I think that kind of shaped you. So he's ready. All those experiences have him ready to lead this team. And through this process, you learn a little bit more. I wouldn't say it's new, but something that I probably confirmed for me is Brian has a unique ability to see people and things for what they can be, not for where they are or who they are right now, currently. And when you think of our team and the phase that we're in, that's vital. That's really, really important. And you got to have that belief to put into people and see where it can go. And we're in the bottom phase of building that foundation. And I think we put some of those blocks together this year. The bottom takes some time, and he knows that, so we'll continue to build that out. But it has to be sturdy and build it up from there. And he's all about habits. He's all about people. And he confirmed that he can see big picture things and the belief in people. So there's a lot of things that led us to Brian, but at the end of the day, the things that we knew about him, he confirmed and gave us some new stuff as well.
Brian, since January, you really spoke about pouring into the players. You never, ever, no matter how many times reporters try to ask you something about you, you would deflect and talk about the team. But today is about you. It's about you and your family and your journey. Have you given yourself time to kind of reflect on what this day means to you?
Yes, you become grateful. A tremendous amount of gratitude. I think I mentioned that in my opening remarks, that there's a lot of people who have contributed to this. And that's a great part about the game, that the people you meet, the people who shape you, and I've thought a lot of them. I've talked to a lot of them over the last week or so, and I think that's, to me, is the part that it really stands out to me, is like, this game has brought me to places that I never thought I would have been. I'm from a small town, Winchester, Massachusetts, to be able to travel and live the world and meet all these unique people and help them shape who I am. I'm tremendously grateful. I think that's what the things that stands out for me personally.
It's time to open it up for the
He
press.
won't talk about himself, but when we had that initial phone call, he was emotional, and we could tell how much it meant to him. And when Michael and I were on that other end of the phone, it made us feel really good about it too.
It's time to open it up to the press. We just ask you when the microphones come to you, if you can please state your name and your affiliation. We appreciate that.
Hi, Brian. Ava
Hey.
Wallace, The Washington Post. I wonder, I think we kind of asked you this on exit interviews, and you deflected as usual because it was a question about you, but I wonder what you feel like is the first step with this group when you get with them in summer league or summer workouts or whenever you see them next as kind of a bunch. What do you want to get to first, or what do you want to pick up from where you guys were at the end of last season on the court?
I think the biggest thing is, I think Will said this is the stuff that I believe in, is pour into the relationship part. I've already talked to all of our guys. They reached out to me as soon as they found the news. We want to pour into them as people, to invest into them as people first and then into their games. That's how we're going to operate as an organization. That's what Michael and Will believe in, and Ted. This is a relationship business. And when you develop these relationships, then you can really dig into the stuff that we need to improve on. So we're already into that. That's what I've been focusing on, and that was what I focused on from day one. The basketball stuff, we're going to go tackle that, and we're not going to run from where we are, but the relationship stuff is always going to be number one for us, because that's how you're going to make the most movement to reach these guys, to help them realize where we can go as a team and how we can grow.
Will, if I could ask you one, Brian spoke about alignment and alignment with you and Michael. How additive is it in a front office that does like to work collaboratively, that you guys have a lot of kind of core philosophies that you share, that you come from a lot of the same basketball background in Oklahoma City? How much of an attribute is that for how you guys like to run your organization?
Yeah, I think different experiences from different people, when you put it together in a group, in a room of people that are making decisions, is great. When you have previous relationships, that also helps. But there's a lot of people that we have previous relationships with and spent time with that aren't necessarily as aligned. So when you can put everybody in the room and kind of come up with fresh ideas and see things where they are, I think it allows for you to have honest conversation. I think while we're going through it, we know you'll be supported. And at the end of the day, we speak the same language. So there's a benefit in terms of the pace and getting to off the ground. But long term, we still have a lot of work to do in figuring out where we go from there. But it definitely gives us a head start.
Dave Johnson, Wizards Radio and president of the Chris Miller Fan Club. Brian, you talked about allowing players into their lives. Just can you talk a little bit more, maybe just touch on it somewhat, but you know how important that nuance is to successful, because everybody knows everybody's plays and basketball is basketball, but that seems like it's the difference maker.
Yeah, I think personally for me, it's each of us is a unique person, and I have a great respect for our players and all players, but like this is a really hard job. Playing is one of the hardest things you have to do. You're performing in front of a lot of people, so I've always had great empathy for our guys that, but I want to find out who they are and what makes them tick, to help them be the best version of themselves. So I think pouring into that, being curious about who they are, I think that's something I've always wanted to be, and that's something I want to continue to grow in this role to help our guys, you know, be the best version of themselves and as a team.
And also, just real quick, when people ask about part of your journey last season when you were in charge, I always reference that Lakers game at home where all of a sudden everybody's scrambling. The starters for the Lakers are trying to get back in the game. Is that, am I making too much of that, or is that a kind of a blueprint of how you need to go going forward where a game is never really over?
Yeah, I do think that was a good example of something that we wanted to build on. We had a lot of examples out of this year where, you know, maybe it wasn't going our direction, but then our guys continued to fight and continued to play. We think those are the stuff that helps build something that's going to be sustainable. Those are the small building blocks that we're going to look to build every day. And those are some of the examples you see live, but we see that stuff in the gym. We see that stuff in the work that these guys are already doing right now. And that stuff really matters to us because I think I wanted to say this earlier, but like the opportunity to build something and building it with Michael and Will and laying a foundation for something, this is why this job to me is so exciting, because it's a chance to align and build it the right way. And I couldn't be more enthused by that.
Christy Winter-Scott, Monumental Sports Network. Coach, you said that relationships, that'll be square one. In 30 games, that was just a small sample size of, schematically speaking, what you want this team to look like. So step 2 will be tactical. What are the first steps for you on the court with the team, and what do you want your footprint to be for this team?
I think you saw a little bit of it during that last part of the season. We want to be a team that plays on offense, that plays fast, who shares the ball. And I thought we saw some of that. Defense is obviously going to be a focus because that's a thing that wins. But we also want to be very strategic how we build this. We're going to be adding new players. We're going to look for the best solutions. So I think that for us as a staff and as an organization, we're always going to be looking for what's best for our group now, but also what's best for our group going forward. So there's always going to be a part of it where we're going to be, hey, as Will said, one of the things I think is like, how can we best use our players? And that might not be right now. That might pay off in 2 years from now. So we're always going to be pushing the envelope in terms of what's going to make us a sustainable winner, because that's, at the end of the day, is the most important thing for us.
Brian Albin, Wizards Radio. I believe after either your first or second win when you took over, one of the players said something to the extent of one of the new things you were bringing was mindfulness training, and you maybe even had a meditation session that was sort of geared towards trying to sort of harp on attention to detail. In your philosophy, basketball-wise, attention to detail, how coachable is it? And where were maybe some of the strides you saw it over that second half of the season?
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about when I took over was the mindset. And it wasn't exactly probably a meditation session, but it was more like how we're going to approach every day, how we're going to tackle practices and shoot-arounds and our individual development work, our recovery, our strength and conditioning. We believe that all those things matter. And when you do those things and prepare those ways, those are going to lead to success, sustainable success. We didn't see that right away, but I think we did see that our guys started improving. They started becoming more consistent. And that's the stuff specifically we're going to continue to work on in the off season to push ourselves to the maximum amount of our ability. So like, we're constantly trying to evolve in those areas, but those are the things we think about on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I'll just add that Brian was intentional when he first got there to make sure he addressed those things. And it's more of a mindset shift in making it a focus. He has such a strong player development background that he really poured into everything that we were doing with the players as the lead assistant. And now to have that background as the head coach is something I think you'll see more in just terms of collaboration and pushing those things with the staff together, but also with the players.
Hey, Brian, David Aldridge with The Athletic. Congrats, by the way, first of all. We've talked a lot over the years about getting comfortable being uncomfortable, and I just wonder how that evolution has occurred in you over the years to be able to speak as a young assistant coach to Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City and tell him his body language is terrible and to get straight, and now to have to do it as the head coach where your words are taken differently than they are when you're the assistant coach. How has that kind of evolved for you over the years?
Yeah, I think Will made a reference to this, but I was very lucky as a young coach to be put in situations that I probably wasn't quite ready for yet, and had great mentors and coaches who allowed me to grow. And one of the things that I had some of my mentors was to be honest and to be able to, I think this is why the relationship part is such a big deal to me, so I can have honest conversations with our guys to get better. I have definitely learned and grown from each of these examples in different places I worked with, but yes, it is a different place now. And in the role I'm in now, I think it's still about the honesty and being truthful, because I think that's what our players want. They want to get better, they want to improve, and I think the only way for our organization to move forward is to have those things, and I'm going to continue to lean into that.
Brian, you've been with teams at so many different stages. You've obviously made the playoffs with a bunch of different teams. What either appeals to you, or what might you relish about coaching the Wizards where they are now, where it is such a young team? You guys are kind of on the rebuilding track. What does that demand from a head coach, and does that excite you at all?
I'm beyond excited. First of all, and I should have referenced this earlier, this is a great community. We want to make this what the style of play and how we are going to operate, that something that our community would be proud of. This is a basketball community. This is a great city to live in. We felt the support, and we weren't doing great as we all would have liked. And I felt the support during the games. I felt the support out in the community. But like I said, with getting the opportunity to work and collaborate, not just with Michael and Will and ownership, but also with our support staff, our go-go staff, we're all in this together. And I believe in collaboration, and we have a group that believes in that also. To get to do those things, like, I'm ready to go. Like, I am excited. That gets me up in the morning and gets my juices flowing, and that's what we're about. And we're building it step by step, brick by brick, and that's a very rare opportunity in sports to get to do that, and to get to do that with the people I get to work with. I couldn't be more than thrilled.
And I'll do it for this portion of the press conference. Again, Brian, on behalf of all of us, congratulations. Congratulations to your family. Make sure Dad takes you guys to the beach before he gets to work, all right?